Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome. Sawadee Krap. Welcome to everyone here. Welcome to everyone online as well. We're going to be starting our morning with learning the meditation to realize non-self. This is something that I mentioned in yesterday evening's class, that this is something that's going to help you to be able to realize non-self. Then after that, we're going to move into some other topics to be able to help you guys this morning. I'm going to be sharing with you guys how to eliminate doubt. Again, what this is, what this fetter is, the symptoms of it, the way to eliminate it, and then also how to know that you've actually eliminated it. Then I'm going to be teaching you about wrong behavior and observances. This is helping you to understand more about the moral conduct and eliminating superstition, realizing that that has nothing to do with the path to enlightenment. Then we're going to be taking a lunch break today. Instead of going on an excursion, we'll take a lunch break, and then we'll come back about an hour and a half afterwards. And then when we come back, I'm going to be doing this meditation with you guys again to give you guys a chance to practice it. So you'll have the ability to practice it twice. Then I'm going to teach you how to determine if you've attained the first stage of enlightenment. And then I'm going to help you to understand how to integrate the teachings into your day-to-day life and how to receive continued support beyond the retreat, because today's the last day of the retreat. We should be finishing up somewhere between 4 and 5 o'clock today, and we'll be done with the retreat at that point. So helping you guys to understand the meditation to realize non-self, let me get here and let me switch over to the visual aids. Okay. So helping you guys to understand the meditation to realize non-self, first, remember back to the words of the Buddha where he's talking about these 4 individual meditations that he taught. These are the only 4 that he taught. Now, I know you guys have been in retreats and you've been studying with other teachers and maybe even Buddhist monks and people like this, and they might have been teaching you all kinds of different meditations, but what you would like to do is get back to what the Buddha taught, because what the Buddha taught, that's what's going to lead to your enlightenment. All these other modifications and changes that people have made over the years, that's not going to lead to your enlightenment. It's going to take you in the opposite direction of enlightenment. So these are the 4 meditations. The only 4 that the Buddha ever taught is the first one here. He's mentioning about the meditation to eliminate the sexual cravings. This is to help the mind develop the perception of unattractiveness of the body. This is helping you to eliminate sexual cravings, and there's specific ways to meditate to be able to do that. Not everyone needs that meditation, but it's there for situations where people do need to eliminate their sexual cravings. Then there's the loving kindness meditation to eliminate ill will. This is the anger, hatred, ill will, and all those lesser versions like frustration, irritation, annoyance, things like this. Then there's the mindfulness of breathing, or breathing mindfulness meditation. This is helping you to eliminate the craving, desire, attachment, and cultivating mindfulness and awareness of mind and concentration. Here you're just cutting off the thoughts, cutting off the thoughts, cutting off the thoughts. You're not trying to eliminate the thoughts with that meditation, but you're trying to gain this discipline of the mind that when things are coming up in the mind, you have the ability to cut it off and let it go. So that then if you've been training your mind that way in meditation and day-to-day life, when you're noticing anger coming up, you can cut that off and let it go. When you're noticing conceit, like you're judging other people, looking down on them, you can cut that off. Any kind of unwholesome qualities coming up, you can cut that off. So that's what this meditation is designed for. So you're not there looking at your thoughts, observing your thoughts, labeling your thoughts, counting, kind of observing things, making your grocery list, thinking about what you're going to do in your day. You're literally focused on the breath, and whenever the mind moves off the breath, you're cutting it off and bringing the mind back to the breath. Realizing you will have thoughts. This is normal, but when you have a thought, notice it sooner and sooner and cut it off easier and easier as you're developing this practice. Then this 4th one, which is what I'm going to teach you today, is the perception of impermanence should be developed to eradicate the conceit I am. That's that personal existence view that the mind has, that I am a Buddhist teacher, I am American, I am this, I am that, any of the I am. You're working to eliminate that. When one perceives impermanence, that's what I was teaching you guys yesterday, to soak the universal truth of impermanence into the mind so that you understand this and you can see impermanence all around you, because that's going to help you to realize non-self. The perception of non-self is stabilized, because now when you understand that all these things around you are impermanent, then you understand that this body, this mind is not you, and there's no permanent self here. So that's why you need to soak the universal truth of impermanence in the mind by going around and viewing the world and seeing that everything around you is impermanent. That's walking down the street, seeing a crack on the sidewalk. That's impermanence. You see a fence and the paint's fading. That's impermanence. Sound going by just now of a motorbike or something, that's impermanence, right? There's going to be this constant impermanence in your life. So you'd like to soak that into the mind. When one perceives non-self, one who perceives non-self eradicates the conceit I am, which is nibbana or enlightenment in this very life. So this is part of what needs to happen in order for the mind to get to enlightenment, is to eliminate this perception that there is a self here. So this is the meditation that I'm teaching you guys today. So this meditation, these are all the unwholesome and wholesome qualities that you're cultivating or either eliminating as part of your meditations. So these are in order. The Buddha prioritizes breathing mindfulness meditation above all other meditations because that's knocking down craving, desire, attachment. And everything that he's teaching in one way or another is helping you to eliminate craving, desire, attachment pretty much. So he prioritizes this. And he says in terms of generating wholesome karma, this is the highest quality of wholesome karma you could generate. Because remember, all the decisions that you're making in the unenlightened state, to some degree, you're probably making those through craving, anger, and ignorance, those three poisons. So if you're knocking down the craving, desire, attachment, your mind's becoming more peaceful because you're not getting discontent, and you're making less and less decisions through craving, desire, attachment, which means it's causing less and less harm to others, and you're generating less and less unwholesome karma. So that's why he prioritizes this one, because it's building the qualities of mindfulness and concentration and knocking down the craving, desire, attachments. Then second, he says the second highest quality of karma that you can generate is practicing loving kindness meditation, because that's knocking down the anger, the hatred, the ill will, and all those lesser versions like frustration, irritation, annoyance, and so forth. And it's helping you to cultivate loving kindness, or that genuine interest in seeing all beings be well. This meditation of eliminating sexual cravings, as I've mentioned, I teach that usually in other classes. There's another course that I teach where I actually teach this to students. It's in the book, volume 1, chapter 11. Oftentimes I'm teaching this on a case-by-case basis when someone's coming to me with some challenges about sexual cravings, but it is in some of the courses. It's been recorded on our YouTube channel. You can come talk to me and know that whenever you talk to me, I'm keeping whatever we discuss private. I'm not sharing that with anyone else. So if you need help with this particular meditation, feel free to let me know. There are resources to help you learn it, but you're always welcome to come and talk to me as well. So now we're working on this one to develop this one. This is the meditation to realize non-self, where you're working to eliminate that concept of the self in the mind, that the mind is confused, that it has the misunderstanding that this body or this mind is you, the mind clinging to the self-image or clinging to the self-identity, thinking that this is you. And now when you have contact where someone says, oh, you're so beautiful, you're so handsome, you get all these pleasant feelings, these conditioned pleasant feelings. But then it's only a matter of time because of impermanence before somebody says something negative or degrading or disparaging about this body or the identity that the mind's holding on to, and now you'll get the painful feelings. So by eradicating that, by getting to the point where the mind realizes non-self, realizes that there is no self here, now the mind can be peaceful and joyful. If someone says something complimentary, okay, you might thank them, say, I appreciate your kind words, or whatever you might choose to do, but your mind doesn't have any conditioned pleasant feelings as a result. And then if somebody says something negative or degrading, your mind's just as stable. It's unaffected by that negative comment that somebody might say about this body or any identity that you might have been holding on to in the past. So by realizing non-self, your mind will be stabilized and more steady, and you won't be experiencing these conditioned feelings related to somebody talking about this body or any identity that the mind might be holding on to. So the way that you do this meditation is through these affirmations. These are essentially statements that you're saying within the mind. We're going to start with the chanting to ease into the meditation. Then we're going to do breathing mindfulness meditation. You guys have been doing breathing mindfulness meditation throughout the retreat, so I'm not going to guide you in that. We'll just go into the meditation after the chanting, and you guys know to focus on the breath, and whenever the mind moves off the breath, just cut that off and bring it back. We'll probably do that for about 5 minutes or so. But then I'm going to come in with these affirmations, similarly as I do with loving kindness meditation, but here it's different. And I'm going to be saying these multiple times. And when you hear these, you can repeat them in your mind on the out breath. So it's, I am not the body. I am not the body. I am not the body. You're going to hear me repeating this on the out breath, right? And then eventually we're going to get to, I am not the mind. And then there is no self. I do not exist. I am not the body. I'm not the mind. There is no self. I do not exist. Now, when it says I do not exist, it doesn't mean that there isn't a being in existence, because there's obviously a being here in existence. But what you're doing is you're trying to strip away this I, and understanding that this I that the mind is holding on to, it doesn't exist. It's nowhere to be found. One of the phrases that the Buddha uses is he says, there is no you there. Right? There is no you there. And one of the other ways that realizing non-self can really help you is that when someone's being disrespectful, they're not being disrespectful to you because there is no you here. But if you have a you in your mind and you think there's a you here, now they're being disrespectful to me, and now your ego will arise. But if you understand that they're just choosing to be disrespectful, those are just sounds that they're making that are unwise sounds that they're making that are disrespectful, but they're not being disrespectful to you because there's no you here. So this is where you can reside peaceful and joyful. When you hear people being disrespectful, you'll probably just smile and have compassion for them, that it's so unfortunate that they haven't learned the wisdom to realize by them being disrespectful, it's harming them, because any disrespect that they put out, it's going to come back to them from other people. But for you, your mind can remain unaffected because you know that there's no you here. That's one of the things that the Buddha says. There is no you there. But because the unenlightened mind has that personal existence view, it will be confused and hold on, thinking that there is a you. And this meditation is essentially deeply soaking into the mind that there is no you here. Now, depending on where you are in your practice, this may or may not really even have much effect today. This is an opportunity for you to just kind of experience it and learn it and make it part of your tool belt. But if you've been doing a significant amount of breathing mindfulness meditation, practicing generosity where you're giving and sharing, training the mind to let go, and you've been practicing the Eightfold Path, as you're experiencing those jhanas, you start to practice this meditation, and this is what's going to help you move past the jhanas and into the first stage of enlightenment, because you're going to be getting rid of this personal existence view. So anybody and everybody can do this, but just understand that depending on where you are in your practice, you may not make this part of your practice right now. You might be working on building up your 2 or 3 meditation sessions of breathing mindfulness meditation and loving kindness, where loving kindness would be really great to do in the morning as a morning session, and then maybe middle of the day and or evening, you do a breathing mindfulness meditation. But that doesn't mean you can't do loving kindness in the evening or the afternoon or something like that. But that's just kind of like maybe a general structure that you typically might have, where you have loving kindness in the morning and breathing mindfulness in the evening. And then if you can get a middle of the day meditation in, great. This is going to come in and be one of those 2 or 3 meditations that you're doing throughout your day, but you're probably only need it for like a month or 2 when you get to that point where you're really stripping away personal existence view. It's not something that's going to be in your practice for very long. It's kind of like that little small screwdriver that's all the way at the bottom of the toolbox that you only use in a rare situation, right? So you use this for a certain period of time, but then once you strip away personal existence view, you're not going to need this anymore. So for some of you guys, this will just be some practice to give you a chance to use it and kind of see that this is a tool that you're going to need at some point in the future, but you're maybe working on these other tools and these other techniques. And for others, maybe you're ready to start doing this regularly in your practice. This is for you to decide. Remember, it's your own journey to enlightenment. You're not in a race with anybody. You're not in a competition with anybody. You need to know where you're at in your own practice and whether it makes sense for you to integrate this into your practice at this point or not. Okay, so do you guys have any questions on this? What we're going to be doing? No questions? Okay. So after we do this, then we're going to go back to the breathing mindfulness meditation, and that'll be what you guys will be doing on your own. You'll just know that when we get to the end of this, then just go back to your breathing mindfulness where you're focused on the breath. The mind moves off the breath, cut that off and bring it back, and then we'll come out of the meditation with some more chanting. Okay? All right, so you can do this meditation in the seated, lying, or standing positions because what you're doing with the mind is the same. We don't do this one in the walking position. So you can take any position that you like. Again, I'm going to start with the chanting, then you guys are on your own for the breathing mindfulness, and then I'm going to come in with this when we get to that point. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Mahakawa Bhutang Mahakavanhang Apivateyami Savakato Mahakavata Tammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Mahakavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti piso Mahakawa Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vicacaranang Sammuno Sakhato Rokavitu Anutero Purisa Dhamma Sati Satatawa Manusanang Bhoto Bhagavati. Continuing to breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. Repeat these affirmations in the mind on the out breath. I am not the body. 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 I am not the mind. 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 There is no self. There is no self. There is no self. There is no self. I do not exist. I do not exist. I do not exist. I do not exist. I am not the body. I am not the mind. There is no self. I do not exist. I am not the body. I am not the mind. There is no self. I do not exist. I am not the body. I am not the mind. There is no self. I do not exist. I am not the body. I am not the mind. There is no self. I do not exist. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Bhutang Mahakavanang Apivateyami Savakato Mahakavata Tammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Mahakavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti piso Bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vichacharanang Sammuno Sakato Rokavito Anutero Purisa Dhamma Sati Satatava Manusanang Bhoto Bhagavati. Okay, if you guys would like to slowly make your way out of meditation. So what I'd like to share with you here about this meditation is what it's doing is it's rewiring the mind. Just like we talked about with loving kindness meditation, is it's helping the mind to no longer see this body or this mind as being who you are. It's helping you to realize non-self, to realize that this body nor this mind is you. And this is happening through essentially the mind being rewired. So if you do this meditation, you would like to do it after you've already done a certain amount of breathing mindfulness meditation, practice generosity, got your Eightfold Path well underway. You're starting to experience those qualities of the jhanas, and now you might decide to start integrating this in. You would probably even like to have some of those things that I talked about yesterday already underway, like the things with the clothing and the jewelry and the makeup and these kinds of things that we talked about. You would like to have those things well underway, and then starting to bring this meditation in. Here you heard me do each affirmation one after another, where I am not the body, I'm not the body, I'm not the body, I'm not the body. But you can also do it where you say I am not the body, and then on the next one I am not the mind, and then the next one, and then you can start over at the top. So you can do it that way as well. Right, so this is helping the mind to strip away this idea that this body, this self-image, or any identity is actually you. What you might notice when you're doing this meditation is you might notice some fear arising. This is very common because as the mind is starting to peel away from holding on to this body and mind as who you are, you can notice that there's this fear arising because the mind thinks that you know who you are and you have this identity that's well intact in this image of who you are in terms of this body. And when you start peeling that away, the mind's not getting its cravings fulfilled. The clinging is not intact. You're starting to peel it away. It can almost feel like you're walking off a cliff. So if this is the case, that's normal. Just keep going. And if you need to pause this meditation for a few days, kind of allow your mind to regain its composure and then start doing it again, you can do it that way. There were times where I would do this and I'd have to wait a whole week before I could do it again. So that's normal. That's part of the mind getting comfortable with the idea that this body and this mind is not you, because we've held on to this personal existence view for so long. And Janae asked the question yesterday, is it in the mind at birth? And the answer is yes. But as we age, it gets more and more deeply rooted in the mind. This mental object of personal existence view becomes more and more established through our interactions and the people around us and the way we interact in the world. It becomes more and more established. So particularly as you age, it gets more and more deeply rooted in the mind. So it's more and more challenging to peel it away. This is why it makes it easier to learn these teachings when you're younger. There's never an unwise time or a bad time to start learning these teachings. But earlier in your life, you have less conditioning in your mind. So it's easier to peel it away and easier to purify the mind. But there's no bad time to learn these teachings. You can be learning and practicing these at any stage of your life. But earlier in life, it's a bit easier. Like my son started learning when he was 6 years old. You know, it was really straightforward for him to be able to learn and practice because he didn't have as much pollution in his mind. So this is the meditation to realize non-self. I'd like to see if you guys have any questions or anything you'd like to discuss related to your experience with the meditation and anything you'd like to clarify. So for those of you guys here, if you guys could use the microphones, and then online, if you could put your questions into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom, or raise your hand in Zoom and ask any questions that you like.
I'm not sure if anybody else is feeling this, but as the week progresses, I'm having very strange dreams, disturbing dreams, and becoming a bit frustrated. I don't know if that's normal.
Yeah, this is what happens as the mind's starting to awaken, because what we do in our life when we're not on this path is it's like we bury everything. It's like we sweep everything under the carpet. And then when you start practicing these teachings, it's like peeling the carpet back and the dust starts flying around. And what you're looking to do is get this dust out of the house, right? Because otherwise you're just going to keep choking on the dust. So this is normal as you're starting to peel away some of these layers, that the mind starts to experience these kinds of things and others. So in the past, whatever we experienced in life, oftentimes we don't have the tools and the abilities to deal with it. So we just bury it and we suppress it. But now this kind of bubbles things up in our mind. And it's not only during sleep that you can experience certain dreams or certain vivid memories or things like this, but even in your day-to-day life, you're just sitting there watching TV or you're waiting for a bus, and certain things that you thought were long in your past can resurface and bubble up. And this is because it's been suppressed. But now is the opportunity to deal with that. Whereas if you keep it suppressed, you're not dealing with it, and it's just hindering the mind from experiencing the peace and the joy. So you like to just keep going forward with this. Don't expect your dreams to be any particular way. Don't have a craving for your dreams to be any particular way. Then you won't get frustrated, right? Your mind's going to be very creative. It's going to do all these interesting things. And you just understand like, oh, that's a dream. It's not true reality. And let me just move on with my day and continue forward. Don't have a craving for your dreams to be any particular way, or else that frustration is going to happen.
And just as a follow-up, and many of you know we're doing a condo renovation, and we had to miss last night because we were told last minute that we had to go pick something out. And so I got very frustrated that we couldn't attend the class last night.
Perfect that you didn't come then. Because their mind was craving it. You were clinging to it. And then when you couldn't come, your mind got frustrated and agitated because you're holding on to it. So in those kinds of situations, you would like to cut it off. And by not coming, it trains your mind to let it go and realize that sometimes you can come, sometimes you're not going to be able to come. That's normal. That's just impermanence. That's not the problem. The problem that you're experiencing is the discontentedness, the frustration. And then the cause of that is because you are holding on to the class and wanting to be here for a certain time. So your mind has to let it go and realize like, okay, I'll attend the classes that I can attend. And if I can't attend, that's okay too. This is a lifelong journey. Yeah. There was a young lady in the back that had a mic before you. Yeah.
I still struggle to understand this non-self. So we say that I do not exist in this meditation. And that I remember you mentioned that when we are reborn, it's us that born. It's more like craving stays, yeah, in the universe. So I'm just asking myself, so if it's not us that we are reborn, we are not gonna be the ones that are gonna suffer in the next life. So why should we actually care, like if we are reborn or not? If it's not us, it's just some craving there.
Yeah, so if you don't get to enlightenment in this life, there's going to be continuous discontentedness in this life, and you'll experience that for your entire life. And then there's going to be another being that continues from that point forward. It's kind of like if you were renting a house and you left it trashy, and now the next person who comes in is going to experience that trash. And I know that that's not the way that you guys would like to conduct yourself. So what you would like to do is clean this up as much as possible, and there's no reason why you can't get to enlightenment. So there isn't another tenant. Basically, you're cleaning things up and getting this house to be crystal clean, and that way there isn't going to be another life that happens. So that's what you would like to be able to do, is you would like to be able to care enough about this life that you're not interested in experiencing discontentedness any longer, that you despise the anger and the frustration and annoyment, and you're not interested in having that part of your life. You would like to get to the point where you're tired of these broken relationships and hostility and bitterness and animosity and resentment that is occurring, the guilt and the shame and the stress and the anxiety. You like to despise all of that stuff so much that you're interested in getting to this peaceful life in this life and not leaving any trash behind for another person.
And I was wondering, so if we are talking about our previous lives, it's not actually our previous lives.
It's a sequence of events. The way that you can think about it is, sometimes I talk about it like multiple candles, where there's a candle that's burning and then it gets down to the bottom of that candle, and then that spark leads to lighting the next candle. So they're individual candles, but they're all burning. Or another way to think about it is like a necklace, where there's these individual beads, and each of these beads are different size, different shape, different color, but there's this kind of string that's kind of connecting them all. So it's not this being that lived in the past, but it's a continuation, a sequence of events that's leading one to the next to the next. So here, when it says, I do not exist, it doesn't mean that there isn't a being in existence. It's just helping the mind to be rewired to understand that this I that it's holding on to, that doesn't exist, that the mind keeps wanting to hold on to that and cling for it, and it just doesn't exist. But the mind keeps looking for it somewhere. It wants to grab onto something and say, this is me.
Thank you.
When in reality, there is no me. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Right. I have a follow-up to this question about the dreams. There is this, some people are able to be conscious in their dreams and to make decisions in their dreams, like lucid dreaming. You can practice that to make active decisions in dreams. Is that something that's then not recommended to do, or is that something that's encouraged, or either way?
It's not something that's going to help you on the path to enlightenment. Your mind's very creative. It can do all kinds of number of different things. You're going to see really how powerful this mind is. And then the beauty in that is when you discipline the mind and you have control over the mind, now you can use that power for your abilities to conduct your life and experience a wonderful life. So dreaming is just the mind doing what it does, being creative, and you can't control your dreams. But whenever you're having a dream and you wake up, you just need to realize that's not true reality. Because sometimes when we wake up from a dream, an individual might be scared or lonely or frustrated, and just realize that you need to cut that off, and that's not true reality. But one of the ways you can use your dreams is, say you have like a regular recurring dream of dying, and you keep waking up being fearful after having had this dream of dying. That can show you that your mind is having a craving for existence, and you need to work on that and train your mind to not be afraid of death and fear death. Or maybe if you're having a regular dream about a partner that you had long in the past, and you thought that person was way out of your mind, but you keep having this reoccurring dream of this boyfriend or girlfriend from 15 years ago, you can see your mind still holding on to that. You're going to need to train your mind to let that go. So the dreams by themselves aren't true reality, but they can give you some insight to some of the baggage that your mind's carrying around, so that then in day-to-day life, you can use that to your advantage to be able to see what kind of tools and techniques from the teachings of the Buddha that you need to use in order to eradicate that. Because if somebody was waking up from regular dreams where they were fearful of death, I would suggest to them to do contemplation of death in order to train their mind to be comfortable with death. Or if they were having regular dreams of a partner in the past, showing that their mind is still attached to this partner, I would suggest they do contemplation of death with that partner, so that person from the past, to train the mind to let go. So there are certain things that if your mind's getting insight from your dreams about what is holding on to, you can do things in your time that you're awake to train your mind to let that go. And you'll eventually get to the point where you won't have bad dreams or disturbing dreams or frustrating dreams or anything like that. It's just dreams. Mm-hmm.
So similar to the loving kindness meditation, for me, the wording is difficult in the brain. Would it be okay to start by thinking of this as what I call I is not the body, what I call I is not the mind, there is no self, and I don't exist? I'm sorry, I doesn't exist, like what I call I doesn't exist?
Yeah, you can do it that way.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Would you say then that this reality, the present reality, is also not the reality? It's also an illusion, since everything here is impermanent. And so would the reality, the true reality, be whatever is truly permanent?
No, this is real. We're not living in an illusion. This is something that people say. If anybody ever tells you that this world is an illusion, just ask them, do you look both ways when you cross the street? And they're going to say yes. And you say, why? And then they say, because there's a truck coming and it's going to hit me. Well, I thought the world was an illusion. Right? It's not an illusion. This is real life. It's real tangible things that are happening. When the Buddha talks about true reality and being able to see true reality, what he's talking about is the natural laws, being able to see very clearly what are the natural laws and then operating through those. That's what he refers to as true reality. But calling that true reality isn't to say that this is an illusion. It's just to say that the mind in the unenlightened state is making decisions not based on the natural laws. The mind is not making decisions based on true reality. It's basing it on its own pollutions within the mind. And that's the unknowing of true reality, or the delusion or confusion that the mind tends to base its decisions on. But when you clean all that up and you get to complete wisdom, what the Buddha calls final knowledge. When you get to enlightenment, you've accomplished what's called final knowledge, where your mind's completely liberated and you fully understand the path to enlightenment. When you get to final knowledge, you'll be making decisions based on true reality all the time. And now when you're making decisions based on true reality, you're only going to be experiencing wholesome results. But that's not to say that what we're experiencing is not real. It's just that the unenlightened mind is not making decisions based on these natural laws or true reality. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do animals have ego?
Why don't we talk about that at break? Because we have a lot to talk about today. This isn't connected to this. Can we talk about that at break?
Yeah, sure.
Just come on up and we'll talk about it.
Okay.
Do you have anything related to this?
Yeah. So I see like a lot of negatives there, like not, there is not self, there is no self. So the only thing that there is would be like consciousness.
There is a consciousness, there is a body, but what you're doing here is you're training the mind to not identify with these things as who you are as a person.
Okay, so we are nothing, not even consciousness.
The mind needs to get to a point where it doesn't identify with any of these things as being who you are.
Okay. So you don't identify with anything. You wouldn't say I am consciousness.
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why even sometimes people come to this path and they want to kind of label themselves as I am Buddhist. You know, you even need to get rid of that label, because as soon as you identify with I am Buddhist, now when someone says all Buddhists are loving and kind and warm and gentle, you get happy, pleasant feelings. But then it's only a matter of time before somebody says something negative and degrading about Buddhist. So if the mind identifies even with that, then there's not going to be liberation and peacefulness in the mind. So the Buddha himself wasn't a Buddhist. He wouldn't have labeled himself that way. This is why he referred to himself as the Tathagata. Right? He would say the Tathagata says this. He's talking about himself in the third person, so that his mind is fully understanding that there is no self here.
Okay. So what it is making us believe that we are something is the ego, right?
No, It goes all the way back to dependent origination. Right? Dependent origination, that top part of the dependent origination. Do you guys remember what the top line is? What's the very first condition in dependent origination? Huh? Yeah, ignorance, lack of wisdom. That's why the mind continues to believe that there's a self here. It continues to have personal existence view because of the ignorance, the unknowing of true reality. And this meditation is helping you to be able to see true reality, that there is no I here.
So we don't have to get rid of the ego.
You do have to get rid of the ego. Yep. That's a different fetter. This fetter of personal existence view and conceit is what we refer to as the ego, but you don't have to get rid of the ego in order to get to the first stage of enlightenment. So in this retreat, I'm not teaching much about the ego. That's in other classes and courses and retreats that I teach.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, let me see if we have any questions here online. Okay, I'm not seeing anything online. So what I'm going to do is it's 10 o'clock. I just need to reset the live stream so that we can go into this next topic, which is understanding and eliminating the fetter of doubt. And we're also going to talk about wrong behavior and observances as part of that. All I need is maybe like 5-10 minutes. Just take a little short break, and then we'll talk about these two fetters. So let's get back. Let's just call it 10:15. Let's take a nice little break. 10:15. Okay. So I'll see you guys in about 15 minutes.